Eric is the day man. Welcome to another edition of Chocobo Chasers. I am G, and as always, I am joined by the Chocobros, Eric and Dash. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Good. Awesome. Well, we're coming back. Obviously, we recorded a little bit late last week, so a little less news. But honestly, I was kind of surprised. There was some pretty larger stuff that's happened over the last few days. Obviously, we're going to go ahead and dive into that. We normally go ahead and kick the episode off with what are you playing, so we're going to go ahead and do that here today. Eric, I'm actually going to have you go ahead and start us off this week.
So I've played some more Marvel Rivals. I guess beta is now closed, and I guess they're going to open it back up here in a couple months or something like that. I unlocked the blue Venom skin that came with playing it and leveling up their battle pass. One thing I really can say, is the game going to be free to play, or is it?
It is.
All right. I think free to play, I think you're not doing yourself a disservice by playing it. We had a lot of fun. I don't know if it's just because there weren't that many people in the beta, but matchmaking seemed to be very imbalanced. People with outranks were playing silver 3s and golds pretty regularly, which if you play any other game with silver 3s or golds like Valorant, you're going to get shit on as an unranked person. And so that wasn't fun. So we got dunked on. So we left comp and just went back to quick play. But you can earn the in-game currency to buy cosmetics relatively quickly. With the missions they give you daily, you just got to play certain characters. They might want you to get a kill streak, heal a certain amount. It was fun. They had added in Jeff the Shark, who I didn't play. He's a healer. I didn't even know who that is, to be honest with you. And they added in Thor, who's a Vanguard tank, and he was a lot of fun. I used him a good bit Saturday night, and it's pretty cool because you get team ups where if people pick certain characters, they team up and you get bonuses for your character. Hela, Thor, and Loki, if they're all selected on the team, then Hela can revive them almost automatically. If Punisher and Rocket Raccoon are together, then Punisher gets unlimited ammo at a certain point, which is very helpful because Punisher's OP as shit. If you get his ult, he's unstoppable and he can just melt anybody. Venom's very, very OP if you play as him. He's a tank Vanguard as well, but he can heal himself for quite a lot once he gets low on health. Overall, especially free to play, I'll be playing this. You can fit 6 people on a team, so you're not limiting yourself with. And it seems like you can play comp with any number of people. One thing about Valorant, if you have a 4-man team, you can't play comp, which is kind of frustrating. But I like it a lot. Played some more college football 25. Took Michigan State. Started out with a low team. Won the Natty, of course. That's what I do. Is I win championships. I build programs. I win championships, and I abandon them and start new dynasties. So I'm about to start year 2. I've got a whole crew of guys. One thing I've noticed, I was reading the Reddit post, and apparently if you take your worst overall rated receiver and just move him to a corner, he'll still progress rapidly as a corner. No matter what, it's just destined for people to level up quickly on that. Even if you don't mess with the sliders or anything like that, people are just going to level up crazy in the offseason, no matter what you do, which is kind of interesting because I feel like if you have lower, strength and conditioning programs, you probably shouldn't have players make that jump. That's something I'd like to see implemented, focusing on building your staff and just besides your offensive and defensive coordinator. Something that, all this time they had to brew this game that I think they kind of missed the mark on a few things. Yeah. But that's really all I played. Played some Valorant too, and was more of the same.
Cool. Dash, what about you, man?
Let's see. So I finally beaten Kamitsugami, Path of the Goddess. So that final boss took me quite a few tries, but once I finally got over that hump, I'm really contemplating if I want to go and do New Game Plus, because they obviously make the ending show you, hey, there's still a secret ending kind of thing, but you have to do New Game Plus to get it. And that, means playing the whole game over again with pretty much, it's all going to be the same levels, but they actually throw harder enemies at you in the early levels instead. So do I have the patience to go through all this again? Because those last few levels and boss fights definitely take a lot out of you. They really want you to micromanage your villagers a lot in those fights. So it can be a lot to keep track of sometimes, and half the time they don't do what you want them to because they'll let someone walk right past them and start attacking the goddess. So it for what it did, and maybe after I kind of cool off my palate a bit, I'll go back to it. But after that, I was just chilling in a Discord with my friends, and I was just like, "Hey, look at my Steam library, and you choose one game that you want me to play, and I'll just stream it for you guys." So they decided on a game called Honey Pop 2 Double Date. I'm not gonna.
I'm just terrified of what this is gonna be.
You know me. You know it's gonna go somewhere. So it's a Honey Pop 2 Double Date. The concept is you have these things called the Nymphogen coming back, and they're gonna destroy the planet. So it's your job to stop them. And the only way to do that is you have to collect fairy wings. And how you collect fairy wings? Double dates that lead to something. And by doing that, you'll win the game. So just hilarious dialogue, just to like it's probably the most out of pocket dialogue I've seen in a game, and just everybody's cracking up in the Discord as we're just like listening to this dialogue. But it's a match 3 game, so kind of like Bejeweled, you gotta match up the different points to succeed at the date, and if you do everything correctly, you're rewarded with a scene. That's the most clean.
I am. I'm not surprised, but equally disgusted at the same time. Oh my god! I'm honestly surprised it took this long for a game like this to make it into the show.
Yeah.
I mean,
it took a year.
So the question has to be, like, this is an actual game, right? Most of those kind of other ones are like visual novels where you're just like clicking through the dialogue the whole time. There's no choices. There's no actual gameplay. So I wouldn't say like those are actual games. Those are more just kind of like interactive books, I guess you could say.
Okay.
I mean, if it even had like choices, at least it's a choose your adventure kind of shit. But I mean, I probably wouldn't bring those up at least. Like, did some more Final Fantasy X just to, now that I'm starting to clean stuff out, I can actually focus on Final Fantasy X more. So at this point, I was at, where was I? Okay, yeah. So I did the Macarena Woods, had to backtrack to Besaid to get all the jet spheres at that point. Made my way back. Thank God for Chocobos through half those areas at least. Because backtracking through those areas, especially with encounters that aren't going to give you jack shit worth of AP to even level up. Which, Sphere Grid, I know some people hate it, but I personally enjoy it quite a bit.
I think it's the best leveling system in all of Final Fantasy. And it aside from the story, it might be my favorite part of the game. So.
Yeah. So, got all the way past the Bavel Temple. The infamous Bavel Temple that it seems like everybody hates for... I don't think it's that hard. It's just more tedious and annoying to spam your button to make sure you actually get the stop on a turn that you want. But yeah, so I'm in the dungeon underneath Bavel. That's where I left off. So.
Oh hell yeah, the Via Purifico.
Yes. Gonna cheese the boss easily with some Phoenix Downs and just make my way through that easily.
That's exactly what I did too. And anybody who's playing it, you're fighting Evray, he's zombie plus Phoenix Down equals 9,999 damage every single hit. So.
And finally, I'm not gonna count college football because I only I didn't actually play it, just more like joined the league and did my draft board. Got a 5-star quarterback.
Yeah, what kind of shit is that?
Auto commit, so I was like, hell yeah.
Auto commit. What
so he's Purdue. Like 5-star QB auto commit in our Saints Block Party League. He got a 5-star. We haven't even played a game yet, and he got him to commit.
I've never got an auto commit. I don't know. I didn't even know this was still in the game.
So if you have a prospect who's very interested in your school, they start out with you as their number one school. In some cases, if you offer them a scholarship, they will just auto commit.
Yep. So
It's happened with me with like 3 and 4 stars, but
that's how I was going. I was like pretty much just going down my draft board, sorted it by interest level. So I saw like a couple 5 and 4 stars up in like the
I
first
hope
and
he's a
second.
bust. Didn't even scout him. He's a bust.
He didn't seem to have bad stats, at least. I didn't get the emerald or whatever to pop up on him, so he's not going to be like a hidden gem or anything like that. But
Oh, it's crazy how fast hidden gems develop. It's nuts.
yeah. But also, just before this, played it for like 2 hours, just a little bit more Against the Storm. You know, my favorite roguelike city builder. Just something to kill the time while I'm watching something on the TV, so I can don't, kind of like a turn your brain off. Maybe I shouldn't turn my brain off though, because some of the later difficulties take a lot more concentration. But that's just been my week. Short
yeah.
week.
Well, that sounds like a great week. So this week I have really been only, I think, about 3 games this week. Rocket League, mentioned it last week, getting back into it. Really getting my ass kicked every single fucking match because I play competitive. I hate playing I want to, dream big and get to this specific rank. But yeah, getting just fucking dog walked every match, which sucks. In doubles, played a pretty good amount of college football. I am in my 4th season at Utah State. We have won. No, I'm in my 5th season. We have won 3 straight national titles. We're looking to go for our 4th. One thing I do want to mention for anybody who's playing your recruiting, go for athletes.
Yeah.
Athletes, I've noticed, tend to have crazy stats. I was able to get a 4-star athlete at quarterback, 97 overall speed. He is kind of a cheat code, and he's actually like a pretty damn good passer as well. But honestly, those athletes are something to pay attention to. Also got a beast athlete at wide receiver. They're really available at all positions too, so definitely just kind of something to pay attention to. But from a recruiting perspective, definitely something to watch out for. And played a bit more Stellar Blade. Having a great time with it. I think I'm probably going to finish it this week. And then I'll be switching over to Liza P, and hopefully I can finish that before, because we've got Star Wars Outlaws is coming out at the end of the month this month. So we're kind of getting into a time where some more fun games are coming out. So yeah, those are the games I played this week. Nothing too crazy. It seems like it was kind of like I mentioned previously. I mean, it was a few days since we recorded last. So there wasn't going to be a ton right now. I'm sure next week I'll have a little bit more, except for Eric, since he is going to be traveling this week. So some of the things that we have seen over the last few days, Quiet Place. This game was kind of like shadow announced at one point. I watched some of the gameplay and it looks. So I've talked about it a lot in this show. I love the game Alien Isolation, and I think that it is such a good template for other games going forward. Like the new Jurassic Park survival game looks like Jurassic Park in that format, and that is, man, that pushes some buttons for me in the best way. Quiet Place, this looks very similar. Quiet Place is a very interesting world. Obviously, you've had 3 successful films. The game looks pretty interesting. And it's an original story set within that world. Definitely excited for it. And it is launching in October. So this game was, from the time that it was like truly announced to release, incredibly short window. It's probably been in development for a few years, but exciting to see.
They should require a mic for it.
That is one feature, again, in Alien Isolation that you could utilize, where if you talk, the alien would hear you. Would be very, very cool to see that implemented in this instance. In other news, Avowed, a game which I think this group collectively is pretty excited about, ended up getting delayed into 2025. Xbox, came out and said, hey, it gives you more time to work on your backlog. Really, they don't want to compete with some of their larger titles coming out, in this fall timeline. We've got, obviously, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is going to be coming out very soon. We've got Star Wars Outlaws, which I just went ahead and mentioned. There's going to be a few other games that are coming out. even just this month, we've got we've got, is it Blacksmith Wukong? Black Myth Wukong is what I'm thinking of.
That's this month?
It comes out this month,
Huh.
which is crazy because I feel like we've seen footage of this game for like
3
10
years.
years. Yeah. It's been so long, and honestly it looks pretty great. One thing that I thought was really cool in some of the development footage that they've shown is that the gameplay is much more akin to God of War than it is to like a Dark Souls game, which a lot of games are emulating that Soulsborne like style of combat these days. To see like God of War is a 10 out of 10 game for me, same with Ragnarok, like and the combat is obviously a huge reason why, like it feels so good. Very, very excited to kind of see a bit more on that game and hopefully get some reviews out, within the next few weeks so we can find out if it was worth the wait. Next, so positive news in this case, there's a new Darksiders game in development. So Darksiders, they have released 3 games in this series, so Darksiders 1, 2, and 3. You play as 3 out of the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
There's 4, right?
So there's 4 total Horsemen, but they've only made 3. Well, they've made 4 games, but only 3 numbered titles. There's a what the fuck is it called?
It's like Darksiders Genesis.
Yeah, something. Yeah, that actually might be it. Dash, thank you.
Yeah, it was like, but that was the one for Strife. I know.
Yeah, it was a much different game. So these games are developed by THQ, I believe. And so I would assume that this 4th game is potentially going to include that 4th Horseman, unless they're potentially looking at redoing the series. I know that we've already played as War, Death, and I believe Wrath is the female protagonist, or Fury is the 3rd one. So I think Wrath would be the 4th one. So, but anyway,
aren't the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse War, Famine, Pestilence, and Death?
They interchange names sometimes, but
yeah,
it's War, Death, Strife, and Fury in this one. In this
Taking
universe,
liberties
at
with the
least.
Bible, I don't like it.
But exciting nonetheless. Obviously, this is a pretty successful franchise, which, I mean, seemed like it was kind of just gone for a little while. THQ has been undergoing some weird stuff behind the scenes. Obviously, they have there's a lot of moving parts in the gaming industry right now, so definitely something to watch out for. But so for the second half of the show here today, this will probably be a little bit shorter of an episode. Again, we're coming off a little bit short of a time frame, but 2 things that we wanted to talk about. First one is not positive, ultimately super shitty. Game Informer, which has been a staple in the gaming community, Eric, given his rest in peace,
we hardly knew you.
Is gone. Honestly, 33 years that this gaming publication went on, and we've seen people talk about all of these other gaming like institutions that they've kind of made us into the gamers that we are today. I used to love getting the physical copies of Game Informer, and just especially because they do the variant covers for like the new games coming out, and they still did that today, but it was mostly as an e-mag. And I know that like if you had a GameStop Pro membership, they'd include.
That's how I always got mine.
Yep.
Yeah,
through GameStop Pro.
Yeah, and so GameStop is also the company who shut them down, unfortunately. And there's obviously a few sides to this. Print media is largely just going away, and that obviously does not help. But
they canned the website too, though.
They really just shut it down completely. So it's just honestly really, really shitty. I wanted to just take a sec, obviously, for us to talk about like what are some of our favorite covers that we ended up picking up throughout the years. I do remember picking up an FF13 one, obviously when that was released, which would have been 2010, 2011, somewhere in that time frame. and just being so excited because as somebody who is jumping from, obviously 10 is my favorite game of all time. I didn't love 12 at first. I do like the Zodiac Age quite a bit. I think they fixed a lot of the issues I had with the game. They didn't remove Vaughn, so it's not perfect. But 13 was just a game that I was incredibly excited for. And so just, and Final Fantasy is my second favorite gaming series of all time. So it was just awesome to be able to see that and be able to, get to experience, some new version of this game, which I had come to know and love. But what were some of your guys' favorites?
Gears of War 1, Game Informer.
Ooh.
Yeah, that one, the Halo 3. Dude, Oblivion. When Oblivion was coming out.
Oh, yeah.
With the you had the Imperial City Guard on the cover with the helmet, and I was just like, this game's gonna be incredible. That's the one I remember the most vividly. I just remember like just the look on the Imperial City Guard's face and the armor. I'm like, this is gonna be amazing. I can't wait to see how like it just remember the first time walking out of that sewer and the light hits you and you just see the world. I remember how like cutting edge it felt. It just
I remember seeing graphics for Oblivion for the first time and being like, holy shit.
Yeah.
This looks incredible.
Yeah.
Especially like the jump from Morrowind to Oblivion.
If you played Morrowind looked like shit at the time. I'm like, wow, this looks fucking goofy. I still loved it though. Morrowind was a great game.
It was.
I remember reading about a game that I ended up buying on the 360 that I had a lot of fun with. It was Lost Planet. I remember that. It was a great game. I just remember how awesome the explosions look when the mechs would blow up after you just blow shit up. You fought giant bugs. It was Helldivers before Helldivers with mechs. Great times. Those are my favorites.
Let's see.
One of my favorite memories from Game Informer, and this was a more recent one. I say recent. It was about 5 or 6 years ago. 5 or 6 years ago, and they had a rating system from 10 to 1 in the magazine, so you would know, like based on their rating, what they thought of the game, and the one rating. So, and every number had an explanation, and for number 1, it just said Ligma, and I just like I thought it was so funny, and so many people. I know thought it was funny, but just an amazing memory.
I'm just looking at different ones, man. The Mass Effect original one was so sick, and it actually wasn't the Imperial City Guard from Oblivion. It was actually a guy in the steel armor on a horse with a sword out.
Yes, I remember the face very vividly, though.
Yeah, Gears of War. Oh man.
Yeah, I remember. So like, I think it was like I primarily got them during my high school times. That was when I probably was a GameStop Pro member the most and didn't forget to renew it. But like I would rip pages out of the magazine and like pin them against my wall for like the games I was looking forward to the most. So I'd have like a whole collage of all these different pages. I'd have like Gears of War 3, Uncharted 2, Dragon Age on there, Dead Space, just any game that, I wanted or thought looked cool, especially some of those cover photos. Like the Uncharted 2 was one I vividly remember, and Gears of War 3.
Is he hanging off the train in that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same as the game, like the game cover. Resistance 3 was a good one.
Yeah, that was
nostalgia, man.
Yeah, so many memories are coming flooding back right now, and it's. I wonder if now Game Informer is going to become one of those collectible items, like especially for people who are trying to find.
People will sell them online still, so it's going to make them even more novelty. Honestly,
I have none of my originals, so
I don't have any of them anymore.
I'll have to maybe see if I can find like a Final Fantasy X version somewhere on eBay. I'm sure it's probably worth a nice little mint at this point, but
it's especially very unfortunate because I'm on like game reporting and reviewing. I've always found Game Informer to probably be one of the most reputable ones compared to, let's say, IGN. So
they were always very fair.
IGN, I think, has like been buying out some of these media outlets, so like they're kind of getting close to being like a monopoly when it comes to entertainment and gaming news.
Yeah, it's just it's just unfortunate, man. I mean, this is something that obviously we all have had a lasting impact with, but and obviously gaming just itself. I think we've seen so many people talk about like on Twitter or any kind of other social media talking about their favorite covers and their favorite experiences with Game Informer, and I mean it was also one of those things like when you were thinking about buying a game from GameStop 10, 15 years ago, like you were looking through that Game Informer, you were going to see like what are the new games that are coming out, what is interesting, what is being reviewed, and what's great, because this was before the internet was as utilized as it is today. And so it just, again, it's just really, really unfortunate. But so we obviously want to send our heartfelt prayers out to everybody who's affected, as far as the people who work for Game Informer. You guys did an incredible job, and we hope that you continue to get working in this incredible space, and that any issues are hopefully rectified for you as quickly as possible. For the last bit of our show here today, we are going to be talking about a game which has had a very special place on our show over the last year. And that game is none other than 2023 Game of the Year, Baldur's Gate 3. So it's been 1 year since this game launched to critical and commercial acclaim, a game that is truly kind of one of one. We've talked about, obviously, we've interviewed so many different folks who are associated with the game, actors who, brought to life some of our favorite characters. We have talked to some of the directors who, helped those actors bring those characters to life. And we all obviously played the game. I was the last one to get in. Eric, I think, was the first one because he had early access the longest for the game. And so he had, the longest relationship with it. And, you talked up this game leading up to the release, like, hey, this is going to be something special. I should have listened to you, bought it right on release. I didn't, because I'm a fucking idiot. But
I had the well, I guess it went like the day it went into, I guess you could say, early access. I bought it and
Especially
played
because
it.
coming.
And I remember there was a huge bug when you would first play it, that like you would land off the Nautiloid and there would just be nobody on the map at all. You could go loot everything, you could do whatever you would do, but there'd be no NPCs. I was like, all right, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And then my friend's like, wait, you don't have anybody on your map? I'm like, no. He goes, you didn't have anybody here? He goes, yeah, you need to restart. So I restarted, and all of a sudden they all popped in. And then I've been hooked ever since. I remember you got to play through almost all of Act 1. I didn't go down into the Underdark. I stopped when you did the fight at at the Grove, the Emerald Grove. I stopped there and then just didn't play it again until like they released different classes. I went back when they released like Paladin and Barbarian just to see how those were going to be, just to see what I wanted my first playthrough they're going to be. And then when I played Paladin, I was like, oh yeah, this is it. Paladins are my favorite D&D class. I try to play Paladins anytime I'm playing tanks most of the time, and then like Paladins are just fucking awesome. So rocked my Oath of Vengeance Paladin and took everybody to the Promised Land.
It's good to see Baldur's Gate make the comeback it did, because it's been so many years since Baldur's Gate
since 2. Yeah.
I mean, I grew up on Baldur's Gate, so like, of course I was going to get into Baldur's Gate 3 when it came out. New style, obviously. I appreciate them going more turn-based than the action one, because when you get into like late game Baldur's Gate 2, it's a lot of pausing and unpausing to queue up your spells and queue up your actions, because it's very fast paced, and honestly turn-based definitely works a lot better for this kind of game style format when it comes to D&D. And I know with like the early access, I didn't play it myself. I kind of just wanted to wait for the full build like a lot of people did. My friend who got the early access, he talked about how buggy it was, and it was just the hope that this game's not going to be buggy on release, which honestly it wasn't. So, and I'm surprised they managed to like hold so many like the story details hidden. Like they basically let you play the entirety of Act 1 in the early access.
They changed some small things up here and there. But overall, it was awesome. Like I remember originally, Shadowheart was like kind of more of a dick in early access than she was to start, and then when the game came out, it was just it was a lot different. Will's character was a lot different too. I forget the actual changes, but I remember like running into some things that I was like, man, I don't remember this. But
Well, and one thing that Larian did this better than so many other studios is they took feedback over that year, and I mean they really worked to try and make the game as good as they could throughout that time. I mean, I feel like they're still providing some minor support, on some things, and they've come out and said that they're not going to be making Baldur's Gate 4.
They
Which
technically said that they have a
Yeah.
version of it
they
playable.
said they had a playable version, which could mean anything. Like you could have like no backgrounds or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably just Wizards of the Coast just being dicks.
Yeah,
Which, with the way they've been managing their IP lately, I can understand probably not wanting to deal with it.
and if there's any lessons to kind of learn from all of this, one, it's if you allow a studio time and resources to be able to cook something like this up. Obviously, there's some incredibly talented folks over at Larian who went ahead and made this game and there's some incredibly talented actors, directors, staff who went into the creation of this. Let your people like cook. Let them make what they actually envision. Don't rush them, and they can come up with something incredible, because Larian had a track record previously of making pretty damn good games. Pillars of Eternity is very well received.
That's no. You're thinking of Divinity.
Divinity Original
Divinity.
Sin.
Yeah.
Well, apologies. But Divinity was incredibly well received. Original Sin 1 and 2. And so, now we're in a period where everybody is watching, like with bated breath, what is Larian going to go ahead and make next? And I mean, I'm way excited. I am curious if it's going to be Divinity or if it's going to be a brand new original IP. Everybody has kind of full faith in them now to be able to go ahead and really just make kind of whatever they want, because they know what they're capable of. I am sad that we're not going to get another Baldur's Gate game made by Larian, because obviously they did do such a good job.
Make a new Icewind Dale or Neverwinter Nights now.
I feel bad
those
for whoever takes up Baldur's Gate 4 because damn.
How do you live up to that?
Yep.
And we've seen like a bunch of the cast share some really cool behind the scenes. Dev Wild shared her audition tape, and it was only 45 seconds long, and that was enough. When we were interviewing Sam Bayar, they mentioned to us that the experience of auditioning, there was kind of this sounds a lot like D&D, and like, I'm sure you guys aren't plagiarizing this. And so it's just really awesome. Tom Mitchell's, Scott Joseph, everybody who we've had a chance to talk to, Amelia Tyler, honestly, and we've seen these people go into other projects. Obviously, Dev was in Cyberpunk, Amelia Tyler is in Hades 2, Scott is in Dragon's Dogma 2. We're seeing all of these people work on other projects that we're also passionate about. Maybe we didn't love them, aka Dragon's Dogma 2, but
Dragon's Dogma my fucking face, man.
But still, this is going to be one of those projects, I feel like, that people are going to look at as maybe a game that changed this space, over the next 10 years. I think we're going to see a lot of games try to emulate a lot of the things that made Baldur's Gate successful. One, I think, is just freedom. And this is something that open world games kind of confuse with. We're not talking about just wide open spaces. We're talking about choices. We're talking about the ability to alter the story of the game that you're playing, because there's so many different changes that you can make within Baldur's Gate 3 that have huge ramifications in the story. I know this, can speak from experience. Killed everybody in Emerald Grove. I was so pissed. is,
Oh, I
you
remember.
know,
I forgot about that. You just
oh
totally
my
fucked up your
god,
first playthrough
I
and had to
I
restart.
I had to fucking restart, and I was so careful my second time through. So now this just makes me want to go back in and play it and
Yeah,
just
we were talking about it
do
the other
more.
night. I want to go. I want to do a multiplayer run. We should do that.
Oh,
It's been a
that would
while since
be
I've
fun
done
as
one.
hell.
It's always
So-
just been absolute chaos because once you get a full group of 4 people, it's like, oh, we don't need Showheart, murders her. we don't need Lazelle, kills her. Of course, I object to that, but
I wonder what gave it away.
I don't like
Perfect.
being murder hobos, and that's when most of my D&D groups always end up descending into.
Well, I think that is a perfect spot to go ahead and kind of cap things off. You guys have anything else you want to talk about here tonight?
I think we missed Half-Life 3, didn't we?
Big.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, and a big Helldivers 2 update's coming.
Yep.
Ooh,
And it's
yes.
out. It's out today.
Oh, is
So
it?
Helldivers 2, huge update out.
All right, might
And
play some
then
Helldivers next week
hell yeah, for democracy, for our
democracy.
man Craig Lee
Um,
Thomas.
It is the Olympics, so let's go declare some democracy.
Yes, we almost skipped a very important, maybe non-story, but maybe story. So there's been some news coming out recently that Valve is making another Half-Life game, which they have done since Half-Life 2 Episode 2 in the Half-Life Alyx VR game. But there's been some data mining, voice actor leaks that Valve is working on a brand new Half-Life game that's non-VR. We don't know if any of this is true. Half-Life 3 has been like the biggest meme in gaming history.
I don't even think it can live up to
It,
the hype at this point.
It really couldn't. It could not live up to any hype that it would have to be a Baldur's Gate 3 level game in order to meet the standards of what people might suggest. I've actually never played Half-Life. I was literally asking you guys earlier this week if I should play it. I have Half-Life 1 already in my Steam library somehow.
Yeah.
I'm sure I just picked it up on Super Sale or something at some point. But they also do have the basically HD remake in Black Mesa, so I'll probably pick that up honestly at some point, give it a shot. But I mean, I've heard incredible things about it.
Half-Life 2 Episode 2 probably is the biggest cliffhanger in gaming history. And the fact that we never got a game after that ending, even after all these years, is probably just the craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
But I feel like Valve just has been sitting on this because they know they're going to make money off of it once they actually decide to release it. And there's always been the whole meme that Valve is allergic to the number 3. Because
Watch,
we never...
they're gonna call it like
Left 4 Dead 3.
2.75.
Yeah. No Portal 3, no Left 4 Dead 3, no Half-Life 3 or Half-Life 2 Episode 3. Just
They're gonna take naming convention lessons from Kingdom Hearts and call it 2.8 or something. Final chapter prologue. Speaking of, have you guys seen the name for what they call the all-in-one package on the Switch?
Is it just like... I mean, I thought it was just the all-in-one package.
So no, it is Kingdom Hearts Integrum Masterpiece. I can't.
I mean, it is a masterpiece, so we'll go with that.
It is a masterpiece. I love Kingdom Hearts. We'll platinum it at some point this year. But yeah, it's just Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, it's very like
Capcom way of doing like their Super Deluxe Ultimate Edition Plus.
It's so dumb. But yeah, couldn't end the show forgetting to talk about that. Obviously, if we do hear Half-Life actually being confirmed, it'll probably be a pretty big topic on the show. But until then, I think that's a perfect spot to go ahead and end it here. We obviously appreciate everybody who's been checking us out, and thanks everyone for supporting the show. We will catch you guys next time.
Have a good one.
Yeah, have a good one.